because I will show you the data which gives a lie to all your statements that we do not support crime-fighting bills. In fact, we supported many of them. The Bail Access to Bail Amendment Bill 2017, we made substantive amendments. We always say we will pass good law. We made substantive amendments to that law. It was passed. The miscellaneous provisions, mutual assistance in criminal matters, proceeds of crime, financial intelligence unit of TNT, customs and exchange control bill 2017, again we made extensive amendments. The payments into court bill 2018, we made extensive amendments. The Administration of Justice Indictable Proceedings Bill 2019, we made extensive amendments. The Administration of Justice Indictable Proceedings Amendment Bill 2018 made extensive amendments. The Firearms Amendment Bill 2019, again, our support was not needed, but we gave that support. The Civil Asset Recovery and Management and Unexplained Wealth Bill 2019, again, we made extensive amendments. This is the one we said about 90-something amendments that we proposed for this bill. Because when you bring good law, we will support you. We don't be trying to help you. And many times the government doesn't care about that. They go roughshod. They take their majority and run roughshod over the whole parliamentary process. And I want to point out that legislation alone will not help you solve the crime problem, because you've passed so many laws, and I'll come to more. I've just said all of these, we made extensive amendments. Again, crime fighting bills passed with our support, special majority bills, at least 6 of them in our time passed with the special majority from us. These include the Tax Information Exchange Agreements Bill 2016, the Anti-Gang Act 2018, the Insurance Act 2016, the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Act 2018, the Licensed Committee Validation Act 2018, the Bail Amendment Bill 2019. Again, this is like about over 6 needing a special majority that the opposition supported along with the government. This Bail Amendment Bill 2019, this is a bill which allows for persons in specific circumstances of criminality to not be granted bail for 120 days. So that is the existing position with bail. No bail for you in certain circumstances for 120 days. Now, I've seen recently that those in the TTPS, yes, I believe it's the Acting Commissioner of Police is talking about no bail for 6 months and so on. You know, all that sounds good, you know, but the whole bail system and bail reform is severely needed. It's seriously needed. The whole bail system militates against the poor and the most vulnerable people in our society. It doesn't militate against the higher-ups. And therefore, when you come to interfere with democratic constitutional rights, such as the right to bail, you better come good. So to cry and say you want 6 months before you could grant bail, apply to grant bail and so on. I have a question for the state. Why is it when a court, be it a magistrate or a judge, grants bail to an accused, why is it that if you believe that person is a danger to society, why don't you appeal? Why don't you make an appeal against any bail that is granted? That is the way to go. We're in a democratic society. We go by the law, we go by the courts. When a person grants bail, it's not the UNC giving them bail, you know. It's a member of the magistracy or the judiciary who are the organs and the institutions to deal with matters. It's not for me or you to say don't grant bail to X or grant bail to Y. We don't pick and choose. It is the jurisprudence in the courts done by judicial officers which grants or withholds bail. However, I'm saying it is a duty of the state. Should it be that this accused granted bail by the magistrate or by the judge, should it be that they are a danger to society, then what you have to do is appeal. That's what the court system is there for. It is not to come to say, take the parliament, ask the parliament to put 3/5 and 2/3 majorities to deny this fundamental right to apply for bail. I think MP Saddam made that point very clear at a press briefing here. That the law as it stands is that you have the right to apply for bail. You do not have the right to get bail. And therefore, again, Should bail be granted by a judicial officer? Again, if this person is a danger and in terms of other heinous crimes and so on, the court will take that into consideration. On an appeal, you can come to show a whole record of it. You talk about somebody have 13 charges, 18 charges, whatever charges. Well, then come and prove that to the presiding magistrate or presiding judge, and let that judge, who is a reasonable person in the interest of the society and of the people, appeal. So I am not of the view that we should just blanket stop giving people the right to apply for bail, knowing the delays in the judicial system, knowing that you may really be innocent and jailed for 10 years and you can't get a hearing. Your whole life, half of it is gone, or most of it is gone, your best years of your life. So we are not saying that, a guilty person or a bad person or a dangerous person. The system is there. You go to court in the first instance when the bail is applied for. Do the officers go, the prosecuting officers, do they go? Do they turn up in court? Do they provide evidence in front of the magistrate and say, look, this man should not get bail. This man is a danger to society. This man is on 8 charges, 10 charges. Do you provide that evidence in the first place? If you did and the magistrate or judge says, no, we'll still give him bail, you have a right, I repeat myself, and this is very important to understand, you have a right to appeal. The state has a right to appeal that judgment or that granting of bail, and therefore keep such a person off the streets. Now, the recent judgment dealing with bail, the Achille Charles, is it? Achille Charles, yes. In that recent judgment, it was made very clear the right to apply for bail is a fundamental right. That wasn't the UNC saying that. This was from the Honorable Chief Justice and 2 other members of the appeal bench. You have 3 senior members of the appeal court saying that is a fundamental right. However, when a person applies for bail, there will be certain things that will be taken into account. Now, under my watch, we had brought, since 2011, we had brought a bill to the Parliament, which this government voted against when they were in opposition, and that bill had to do with the Bail Amendment Bill. So now this was a 2011 bill, Constitution Amendment, Capital Offences Bill 2011. We brought that bill, and we were saying this bill was for the purpose of categorizing murders. So the most heinous of murders that a person is accused of course you will look at that and not grant bail. The court will have that discretion and power. And with respect to the death penalty as well. Because MP Saddam and the others last week gave the examples. You could be a father or a mother, and you come outside and you see somebody raping your daughter, and in that moment you pick up a gun and shoot the person. Are you a danger to society? So there'll be crimes of passion, there'll be crimes of heinous kinds of murders and so on. And we had talked since 2011, categorized murders. So there'll be some that you will never get bail. They will not get bail for the most heinous. And then the others that may be circumstantial, as I gave father seeing his daughter being raped, and in defense of that daughter may attack whomever that rapist may be, should such a person stay in jail for 20 years without bail. They have a right to apply for bail, and then the court, the judges, they can see. So this narrative of this Rowley P&M is to blame us for the crime. I am not taking that blame. I will not take it, because when we were in government, we brought the crimes down. We will not take that. We blame for squarely on this government. In addition to the failure, passing laws and not implementing them. Pass laws on the books and you don't even implement them. Take, for example, under the watch of the UNC partnership government, we passed a bill which came into law for something called electronic monitoring. These were the bracelets, yes? Electronic monitoring. All these years have passed. And we now find out in an affidavit filed by the Permanent Secretary, the Minister of National Security, in that same Achille Chambers, Charles matter. Affidavit, you know what they're saying? They only have 2 people in the unit. The unit to look after the electronic monitoring bracelets, to implement that law. 2 people. They said they cannot even get money to buy basic things. They don't have money, no funds. 2 people all these years later. Wouldn't that help you too? An offender who is under bail, we passed that law, went out of office before the full implementation. Wouldn't that law help if you have a person out on bail, that monitoring bracelet, you will know where they are at every second of every single day, you will know that, but you can't get it off the ground. That will be a serious deterrent, and not just deterrent, will help you for detection, because everywhere this person is going, you will know. You will know. So it's not just the issue of keep you in jail, locked down for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, how many years. It's a question. There will be some, as I mentioned, the father and so on, others in similar circumstances, that you can put on these monitoring bracelets. You can monitor them every minute of every day. You will know where they are, and therefore the possibility for them to come back out there, commit crime, and they will be under watch. Why have you not implemented that? A serious crime fighting measure. In the United States, in many of the states, that's what they have. The electronic monitoring. I believe one of our own citizens was locked down in the US, somewhere in Florida, or maybe New York, on these electronic monitoring bracelets. Why? Why have you not put that in place? No implementation. So many pieces of laws. You come there, we have an attorney general comes, attorney general bleating and crying, and the UNC to support and don't. Look, I told you all these bills that we supported for crime fighting. What has happened? Have they, in fact, implemented? They came to Parliament and told us about this anti-gang bill. Again, repeat, anti-gang. Okay, we agreed to waive the standing orders to bring it back. We had defeated it initially because we found some provisions were too harsh. We agreed. I wrote and I said, look, we will waive the requirement in the standing orders that you cannot bring a bill of the same substance in the same session. We will waive that, and we will consent, and we pass it. They came to the Parliament, the AG and Minister Stuart Young and so on. We know who they are. We know exactly how many gangs they are. We know their names. We know their addresses. Once we pass it, we're going to pick them up. We're going to pick up everyone. Well, which one have you picked up? You said you knew all of them. There were 400 and something gangs. You told us you knew the names, you knew the persons. Which of those have you picked up? So you come in the Parliament, you boast about passing laws, and you believe crime fighting is only about passing law. Yes, part of it is, but then you have to implement the law that you have passed. You have to implement it. Then now we come to the situation where you have the DPP swearing in an affidavit in the court, saying what? People who apply for bail, we can't deal with it based on the Achille Charles judgment. We can't deal with it. Be too many. You know why? Not because we are incompetent. Not because we are not willing to work, because we are underfunded, understaffed. The state is using its own incompetence to defend something that's indefensible. You will not give the DPP the resources. You will not deal with the accommodation, proper accommodation. I remember we increased the complement of staff for the DPP's office, went out of office before. Actual warm bodies will be placed into the positions, and 6 or 7 years later you have done nothing to improve the efficiency and functioning of the office of the DPP. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. So you have no proper staffing. Then I'm told there's some building they rented somewhere for the DPP, yes? Some building rented somewhere, they paying rent, and then they find out how many years later they cannot use that building for the DPP because the security aspects of it are very suspect and not amenable to properly housing the DPP and the staff of the DPP's office. So pass how many laws you want, and on top of all of that, we come down to this point. All these laws that you want to put on the book, blame the UNC, and I've shown that that is not the case. We have supported many of the crime fighting matters. I have shared with you that you have not in any way dealt with the issues, the core issues that affect crime. So you have the whole social sector aspect of this, the vulnerability of the poor, and those are the end of the spectrum, and the suffering and pain and so on. You're not helping them. Over 120,000 people have lost jobs under your watch. You have no shade. Over 120,000 people have lost jobs. What are they going to do? How will they feed their families? So crime fighting is a holistic solution. It is not a pass this law or lock down everybody in the jail for as long as they want. Justice system are overburdened. It is not an issue of locking down people in jail. It is not. So you have to deal with, first of all, from the start, Prevention. Prevention. How can you deal with prevention? I have a lot of suggestions and ideas. I have shared them before. Prevention first. Detection. All these murders you can't find. A small island like ours. 2 islands. 2 small islands. You cannot find all these murderers. You cannot find 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Detection. And then when you come down to the court system, the judiciary, administration of justice, overburdened, overworked and underpaid. Again, you have to deal with conviction. It is in the judicial system that will happen. So I share these things with you, as I say, with a very heavy heart. You know, they say when somebody dies from crime, the UNC is happy. How can anyone be happy? What kind of narrative you give of lies and lies and lies to justify your own incompetence? And only a week or 2 ago, I called for the Minister of National Insecurity, Hines. Hines must go now. Hines has to go now, because I don't think the country can take any more of his incompetence and his mismanagement, resulting in so much pain and suffering for citizens. I close there, and well, only you are here. If anybody has any questions.
Well, you basically answered my questions as you went along, but I just have one question.
Sure.
Can I get a comment from you as leader of the opposition on what happened outside the Red House today, where a group of protesters were detained while they were calling on the government for some kind of some kind of reform in the education section?
Sure. Yes, in the Parliament today, our MP, A.N, had filed a private member's motion on behalf of the opposition to deal with the failure of government in various aspects of the workings of the education sector. Some concerned citizens saw it fit to voice their concerns. They were concerned citizens to voice their concerns, but they were outside the Parliament. I'm told, I wasn't there at the time. I think MP Saddam went across to the police station. It is most unfortunate that, you know, you use the heavy hand of the law to shut people down, to shut up people from their freedom of expression. I am told these people were well spaced out, they were wearing their masks, and there were not very many people to breach the COVID restrictions of social distancing and so on. So it is most unfortunate when the heavy hand of the state, through the arm of the TTPS, is deployed and used to shut up citizens as an area of serious concern. It is an area of serious concern when it is that some members of the TTPS will go to give a man a ticket for not wearing a mask in his car, in his own car, and he's there in his car for not wearing a mask on all these issues. And yet, the crime is skyrocketing, the crime is totally out of control. So I really feel very concerned about the attempts to stifle the voices of people who have concerns that they will share. But you know, the day will come, and they may accuse me of sedition, but this is not about sedition. This is about human beings and the way people operate and how they think. That you could only shut up people for a while. You could shut them down, but the day will come when the numbers will be so many, the voices will be so loud, that you will not be able to stop all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago who are not in agreement with the policies and the programs of this very wicked government. Okay, thank you.
We have one from Priya Bihari from ATP News. He's saying the acting police commissioner is asking for changes to the Bail Act after the house invasion at Westmoreland, where the 2 criminals who were killed had 21 charges among them. Are you concerned about this, and what changes to the Bail Act help?
Sure. I am not of the view that changes to the Bail Act will help. I am of the view that the state should take its responsibility to appeal against any handing down of granting of bail by a magistrate or a judge. The state has a right to appeal. And should it be that the state says this person has 8 charges, 10, 14, 15, whatever they may be, that bail is being granted by a judicial officer. And the state has the power to appeal the decision and to show a court, whether the magistrate or the judge, to show the judicial officer, listen, this is not a person who should be granted bail. So to reform the bail law, you know, I made the point earlier, you reform the bail law, you bring the anti-gun, and none of that is helping. All this legislation hasn't helped. You already passed the law, we gave you the support. to have no bail for 120 days. If I give you a year, is it going to make a difference? If we give you 2 years, is it going to make a difference? My answer is no. The answer will lie in the state using its right of appeal to the magistrate or to the judge to show to the court, and the court is a reasonable one, these are persons to administer justice in our country, that court, magistrate or judge, will review once the evidence is produced. Secondly, the state has a duty when an application is made for bail that they must go to the court. They must attend court when the application is made and show the evidence that this person is a risk, a danger to society. If you don't do that, well, judge or magistrate, they are not fools. If there is no evidence before them, then what do? They go with what in their discretion to grant the bail. And then that's the first point. So they must be there. The state must be there, representatives, to fight the applications for bail and provide evidence. Should that fail, the state then has a second chance, a second, what you call it, a second pick.
Second bite of the cherry.
A second bite of the cherry to appeal any such decision. So bail law, we've changed it so many times, it has not made a difference, and there's a reason. There is a fundamental right, not just in our independence constitution, not just in our Republican constitution. It goes back to Magna Carta from 1066, that in our jurisprudence, which is the Commonwealth law, in our jurisprudence, the right to apply for bail is a fundamental right that cannot be taken away with a simple majority. Now, they may come and say it's 3/5, which is what they've been trying to do with the 3/5, but I am of the view that 3/5 is not enough. It is such an interference with this fundamental right, stretching back for centuries, that you really have to come good to take away that right, and it may well require any such bill a 2/3 majority, not any 3/5 majority. This is similar to when they brought the whistleblower bill, and I pointed out, you're saying 3/5 majority, give us a 3/5. No, they were taking away another fundamental right, which was access to a court of law to have your rights and obligations determined. And they want to do so with a 3/5. No, that is a 2/3 and even maybe a 3/4, 75% special majority for breaches of these fundamental rights. And there's a reason for it. Because when dictators arise and you take away these rights from people, from citizens, you'll end up like Nazi Germany. That's where you're heading when you allow dictators to govern and they take more and more power unto themselves. So today is to say no bail for 120 days. Then tomorrow you come now, you want 6 months, is it? 6 months. And when that 6 months goes, what do you want, a year? It cannot be. We have to work within the legal foundations and constitutional fundamental principles by which as a democratic state we are governed. So I am not in agreement unless they can convince me. We are not in agreement on this side to extend the time of no bail to 6 months, not at all. What is the evidence that 6 months is going to help you? What is it? What do you have that says 6 months? That within 6 months you think you'll be able to get this case off the ground in courts? No, it's not going to happen. And people will be incarcerated in there for long, long periods without access to the fundamental right to have a day in court, access to justice and access to a court.
We have one more question. The Minister of National Security recently said that it's not his responsibility to make citizens feel safe. What would you like to see him do more of?
I would like him to resign. And if the Minister of National Security says it's not his duty to make people feel safe, well then whose duty is it? Mine? Whose duty is it? That's his job. You cannot do your job. You've proven that you cannot do your job. The minister should resign. And should he fail to resign, the Prime Minister should fire him. And on top of all of that, they should just end this charade, end this incompetence and mismanagement, and just call the elections now. Just call an election, seek a fresh mandate, because you have failed in every regard in the governance and management of Trinidad and Tobago. Great. Well, I thank you all very much for your time. Thank you.